Hey guys, FlySwatter here. Gaijin added a bunch of new Mosquito variants into the game this update, and a few of them are actually quite good, so let's start with the comparison between all of the new variants. All of the Mosquitoes have the same engines, wing rip and flap rip speeds, and the main difference between them is their weight, drag, and armaments. Currently, the British Night Fighter Mk.II is the best of the bunch, with a very good turn rate, turn circle, and climb rate for an Interceptor. Second best is the Norwegian Fighter Mk.II, which is a bit heavier but also less draggy, making the climb and turn a fair bit worse, but also it has a higher top speed. Next is the Norwegian Fighter Bomber Mk VI with an air-to-ship ASH radar, which is slightly lighter than the base model Mk VI, as well as the identical Chinese Mk XXVI. Then there's the navalized torpedo Mk XXXIII variant, and finally the Mk XVIII, which comes with a nose-mounted 57mm cannon. For this video, I played the Night Fighter, the Norwegian Fighter, and the Whirlwind, since it also fills the same Interceptor role, so let's do a more direct comparison between the three of them. I would say the Night Fighter is the best of the three, mainly thanks to its climb and turn, which are very useful for an Interceptor that needs to make the most out of its air spawn. The Norwegian Fighter is still fairly decent, but the loss in turn and climb for a rather insignificant gain in speed is not a trade-off that I personally would take. And the Whirlwind is pretty bad if we compare these planes in this manner, with a very low top speed, worse turn, and worse climb. However, the Whirlwind is actually optimized for higher altitude performance, so if we compare them at 4.5k altitude, the differences are a lot smaller. That, plus the fact that the Whirlwind generally feels a lot snappier, and it's still a pretty decent pick if you can aim the 20mm and make the most out of your limited ammo. The flaps on the Mosquitoes are quite strong, tightening your turn radius while actually improving your rate by a tiny bit, so use them when you're going at the right speed into a fight. Same goes with the Whirlwind. Compared to other Interceptors around this BR range, the Night Fighter is quite strong. It turns much better than the P.61, the Do.335, and the Ta-154, and is much faster than the Ki-108, though all of these planes are also optimized for high altitudes, so the comparison becomes a lot closer once you get to those higher altitudes. The P-38J is a very close competitor, and it's probably better overall since it'll perform better at altitude and also has very strong flaps, but it is also a 0.6 BR higher. Your role in the Mosquito is pretty simple. You try to abuse your air spawn to climb above the enemies and engage them before they can get an energy advantage over you and your team. If you get into a bad situation, dive down and drag the enemies down for your teammates to catch. And it is fairly decent at this role, but it isn't perfect. You get hard countered if you encounter anything that can gain an energy advantage before you while turning better. Yak-3s, Ki-44s, B-7A2s, and P-38s can pretty easily deny you an altitude advantage, while also dogfighting better than you. Plus, your plane's level flight speed isn't actually that impressive when you compare it to other fighters of its BR. Most American planes, like the P-51C or the Corsairs, will easily catch you in a straight line, and even a Yak-3 or a Ki-44 will be able to keep up with you. So, diving away is not an easy get-out-of-jail-free card, and you need to be very aware of who you're fighting against and what you can do against them. Your ailerons also get locked up a fair bit at high speeds too, so you need to watch out for that. If you encounter these kinds of enemies at equal or lower energy, your best bet is to either keep your distance until they're distracted, or push a head-on if you have no other options left. Speaking of head-ons, this plane is quite good at them. The 4 nose-mounted Hispanos are very good for the BR, and this plane's airframe is incredibly tanky. You won't survive everything, but I've had a lot of instances where I feel like I should have died, but instead I survived with relatively minimal damage. The Whirlwind plays pretty similarly, but you're a lot more fragile, you have a lot less ammo, you rip earlier, and your best performance is at higher altitude, so you want to do your best to stay at high altitude to maximize your performance. Thanks to your low ammo and survivability, you want to be a lot more careful with both your shots and with your defensive flying, since you're even less likely to be able to escape if you get into a bad situation. Okay, let's get into the gameplay. It'll be split across the 3 planes in the order that I played them, so skip around to whichever plane you're most interested in watching. Right now I'm playing the Norwegian Mosquito F.Mk.II, and I'm currently almost completely stock. I've only managed to unlock the belts and 1 level of upgrades for the Hispanos, so they shouldn't jam as easily as when they're stock. So far I've just been running around trying to kill whatever that I see. I haven't actually gotten into any interesting dogfights yet. Just a lot of boom and zooming out of a furball. There are a lot of dangerous enemies in this match, like the Ki-43, the Ki-61. I'm most worried about the Ki-44 and the Yak-3, since both of them outperform me on the deck, and I don't have an easy way to run away from them. There's an SP-25 coming this way. I shouldn't be too worried as long as I don't go head-on with him, since he has 12 50 cals in the nose, so I should be safe to engage here. There are a lot of other dangerous targets that I could go after, but right now my priority is just cutting the enemy numbers down. Even if these bombers have minimal direct impact on the outcome of the game, the American players on my team tend to be very kill-hungry, and so giving them less opportunities to make poor target prioritization decisions means that they're more likely to go after the more dangerous targets that I would have a much harder time dealing with. I am tanking a lot of 50 cal rounds, though we'll see a better demonstration of this plane's survivability in a bit. There's a Yak 3 directly above us. That's a very dangerous target. So I turn away and I see this Ki-44 who is just as dangerous of a target, and I need to take this head on. I don't really have a choice here. And luckily I managed to shear his wing off. If I didn't kill him there, then it would probably mean I would die immediately after. And as much as I would like to help that G55 deal with the Yak 3, I'm completely out of 20mm ammo, so I need to RTB. So hopefully he can deal with him. While I rearmed and repaired, the G55 did lose to the Yak 3. It's kind of expected, given how strong the Yak 3 is. So our team is down to an XP50, me, and a P63 that's currently on the airfield. The enemies have a Ki-43, an SP-25, a Yak 3, and a Ki-61. Now the Ki-43 is coming towards us and the XP-50 is flying away. If I were him, I would engage him while I had the altitude advantage, but either way I'm going way too slow to try and engage him in a boom and run attack, so I'm going to try fly sideways to see if the Ki-43 chases me and if that XP-50 wants to actually dive on him at some point. Now it looks like that XP-50 has actually turned in for the Ki-43, so I'm going to turn back and see if I can help him. He does have the altitude advantage, but the Ki-43 is a UFO plane, so we need to stack the odds in our favor as much as we can. And the Yak 3 has showed up at a very inconvenient time. If I try to stall up for the Ki-43, then I'm going to die to the Yak 3, so I'm going to hope that the XP-50 can deal with the Ki-43 and push the head-on against the Yak 3. For how much I sprayed, I expected more of those to hit. And it looks like the XP-50 lost the Ki-43 very quickly, so I'm going to have to also try and kill him right here. If I don't, then it's game over either way. And I survived that. No time to celebrate though, the Yak 3 is still on my 6. I know he has a relatively limited ammo pool, but I don't want to rely on that to try and survive this. So I'm going to run as quickly as possible and try and get to my other teammate. I might also be able to pick up the SB-25 on the way there if I survive long enough. I'm only on one engine though, so I need to get out of here as quickly as possible and glide back to base. Now this is a very risky head-on. I know that SB-25 has 1250 cals in the nose, so I'm going to pull off very early. And I managed to set him on fire. The first level upgrades of these guns do feel a lot better than the stock guns, but they do still spray a lot and do feel a lot better once you fully spade them. Looks like the Yak 3 is turned away. I should be able to get away if he doesn't continue chasing me. And hopefully the P63 can deal with the Yak 3 while he's low. I'm gonna turn for the closer airfield since it looks like all the enemies are disengaging right now. And I'm pretty sure I won't be able to make it to the main airfield either way. And this is what I meant when I said the US players have poor target prioritization. He's going after the SB-25 who's already crippled and stalling out, as opposed to the Yak 3 that he could definitely chase down and kill. And to rub salt into the wound, he ends up dying and taking the kill. So it looks like I'm on my own against that Yak 3 and the Ki-61 wherever he is. I do just barely manage to make it to the short airfield, but it looks like the Ki-61 has managed to track me down here, and so I'm pretty much toast at this point. I know there's no way of winning. The best I can try to do here is take off and do a head-on with him, but if he's smart he won't take it, and even if I do try to pull up with him, there's a good chance I just die in the process anyways. And unfortunately that's exactly what happens. This plane gets very sluggish when it's slow, and so even with the full flaps I wasn't able to pull up for him. I did do pretty well for a plane that is almost completely stock, but even if it were an equal energy fight against the Ki-61 or the Yak 3, I'd most likely lose if I didn't manage to kill them in the head-on. There are a lot of not so interesting matches in between, so this is the first match where I'm fully spaded. So I should perform better. I'm going to energy trap this Focke-Wulf because he looks like he's full sending it up, and it looks like he's stalled out at this point, so I'm going to dip down on top of him. I killed 2 bombers earlier this match, but it wasn't very interesting, so I skipped them. It looks like the Focke-Wulf didn't commit as hard as I thought he did, so he's just running away at this point. I might be able to catch him here, but it looks like all I'm doing is hits to him. And here you can see that it's actually kind of difficult to get your nose to go where you want it to go. The plane's roll is pretty sluggish, so mouse aim tries to use the rudder, which makes the aiming a little rough. So even though this guy wasn't dodging at all and he was just rolling on the spot, I wasn't able to get my shots to land on him. It doesn't help that the faster you go, the roll gets worse, and so I ended up just missing with half of my ammo. At the same time, I would say that was also a skill issue. If I had adequately compensated for the fact that the roll would have gotten slower, then I probably could have gotten that shot off pretty easily, but at this point I was still getting used to this plane. And so far I've had the luxury of taking these fights with an altitude advantage, but this Yak 3 decides to show up above me, so I'm going in for the fight. If I was in a more maneuverable plane, then I would have been able to lead him there, but I'm not able to take him out in the head-on, so it looks like it's a dogfight. I'm pretty sure I lose this matchup 9 times out of 10, but I'm going to just see what happens. Looks like I got the overshot. I might be able to pull my nose around to get a shot here, but the nose does not want to stay up. I'm going to try and stick behind him here, but if he starts caching his altitude for speed to get behind me, then I'm going to also have to go down. This is about as ideal of a fight as I can get, since it's a scissors fight going downwards, so I'm hoping it stays going down so I can use my flaps and lower my throttle to stay behind him. Right now I need as much speed as I can to keep turning though, because I am basically on the verge of stalling. It looks like it's taking some time for my flaps to retract. I'm going to lower my throttle to try and stay behind him again. And right now it looks like we're pretty even. I tried going for the combat flaps again, but it's warning me that I'm going too fast, and unfortunately they rip off. This is going to put me at a severe disadvantage if the fight goes upwards again, and it looks like he's trying to take it that way. I might be able to get a shot here if I'm lucky, but it looks like the nose just doesn't want to go where I want it to go. I was going like 320 kph when I first pulled in for that shot, so if I was in a more maneuverable plane, I could have gotten it off, but unfortunately that's not the case right now. And this guy is going to very easily continue to loop over me, and if he keeps this up, then he's just going to very easily get on my 6s. So I try and reverse the turn and turn it into a 1 circle again. And I'm thinking I might be able to get a shot here, but he pulls up above my nose. And now he's on an attack dropping down. I try to roll over to reduce the surface area, but he does get some shots into my wingtip. It's not critical, but I've already lost the positioning fight here. Even when I'm at the top of the loop with gravity helping me with my turn, I'm still not able to pull in for him. So at this point, I'm just going to try and run and see if I can maybe kill this Firefly on the way down. I know I'm probably 100% dead here, but I'm going to at least make an attempt. And maybe the Yak will run out of ammo. I miss my shots on the Firefly, and I'm going pretty fast, but I do know that my top speed is 720, so I should be able to level out here. And still, there's no way I'm escaping the Yak 9. I'm pretty sure he has a lower rip speed of 690, but he just decides to dive less aggressively so he doesn't rip his wings. I do have the better linear energy retention, so I am gaining distance from him, but very slowly, and I'm going to keep having to take shots from him. And I definitely don't outrun a Corsair, so I'm pretty much dead here. This is the final match in the Norwegian fighter. I've climbed up to altitude, and I'm hearing somebody climbing up below me, but I can't see it until it's very late. Luckily, they don't manage to get their shots in, and there's somebody above me. I'd like to know what it is before I decide whether I want to engage him or not, and it's another Mosquito. It's the Night Fighter variant. It's just me, but better. I managed to put some hits into him, but the Hispanos decide now is not the time, so I'm going to extend away from him. I'm not really comfortable engaging in a dogfight right now, knowing that there's a bunch of other people at altitude that I might have to deal with. And if I get stuck in a dogfight, then I won't be able to take him out. Like this P.51 who's going in for a head-on. I'm pre-rolling to try and get out of the way of the rounds, and I do win the head-on, but I did get hit a few times. Luckily, they are still just 50 cals, so I'm pretty unscathed right now. The Mosquito is still chasing me, but I need to kill this guy in front of me if I want to be able to dogfight him. Looks like it's another P.51, so it's time for another head-on. Looks like most of those shots missed or didn't do anything, so no kill for me there. It's still a little too early to turn back for the Mosquito, so I'm going to keep extending a little bit. Either he turns around and gives me enough space so that I can re-engage him, or I'm going to have to make that distance myself. And it looks like he's giving me some space to turn back, so I'm going to turn back in for the head-on. And he's also re-engaging, so this could be dangerous. I don't want to commit too hard since I know he also has 4 Hispanos. So I'm going to give him a little spray and then pull off early. And it looks like he's going in for a dogfight. It looks like we have space here and there aren't any enemies around, so I'm going to go in for it as well. He came into the fight with a lot more speed, so he's already managed to dive down and gain a lot of position on me. But that means that he needs to pitch up while I'm diving down on him, so I managed to get inside of his circle here. And I don't really have any good strategy for a one-on-one fight with a plane that's almost identical to yours. So what I'm going to hope to try and do is make better use of my flaps. So I go straight up and extend my full flaps, and I'm going to pitch back down onto him. And it looks like he doesn't want to come back up for that. It looks like he's diving away. I don't really want to chase him down here because there are probably still enemies at altitude that I would have to deal with before I go after him. So I'm going to let him run away for now and see if I can find a different target to go after that might be a bigger issue. Spotting on this map is kind of hard because it's evening, and I'm thinking I might go after this SB-25 when I start hearing an engine sound off to my left and a P-51 decides to jump scare me from the left. Based off of the alternating tracer fire, it looks like it's the Hispano P.51, so his performance at high altitude shouldn't be great. But he's already starting on my 6, so this is going to be a very difficult fight if I want to win it here. I'm dropping throttle and pulling in. And if he was a good shot, he would have killed me right there and then, but it looks like he missed. I'm gonna raise throttle now to make sure that I don't stall. And since he came into the fight with a lot more speed, he overshoots past me, and I'm going to try and pull in with my landing flaps to see if I can get a shot in on him. Unfortunately, I stall out before I'm able to loop over the back, so it looks like I'm going to have to drop my nose in front of him. And there's a fair chance that he might be able to pull in for a shot here. I'm stalled out, so I need some speed. I'm holding throttle full forward, and I'm going to see if I can pitch back up over him again. This is going to be incredibly risky. I don't know if he'll be able to have the engine power to pull up for me here. If he decides to use flaps, then that might also get me killed, but it looks like he might not be using them. So I am able to stall out inside of his circle here, but it doesn't look like the plane wants to loop over the way I want it to, and instead pitches forward again. It looks like he's going to try and follow me down, so I'm going to lower my throttle and try and force the overshoot again. This plane very much did not like going up, so I'm going to try and force the fight downwards now, and see if I can gain an advantage that way. It's going to be pretty rough since the P.51 also has a poor energy retention, but I'm at the top of my loop now, and I might be able to drop in and get a shot on him here. And I'm barely off. It looks like it's his turn for the attack now, but it looks like he spent way too long going upwards that he stalls out in a weird way. So he ends up losing a lot of position heading out in front of my guns, and so I'm able to get a shot in here. Only hits, nothing good. And it looks like he's going down to regain speed. I'm going to follow him down. I was worried he was running away, but it looks like he's recommitting, so I'm lowering my throttle to stay inside of his circle. And it looks like I'm behind him again. He goes up, so I'm going to push the throttle so I can keep up with him. And it looks like he's almost trying to extend away. He's not taking a very aggressive line against me, so when he's realized he's too close for an energy trap, he pulls into my guns and ends up dying. A very difficult but satisfying fight. If it was down to the planes, then the P.51 would have won, but it looks like I managed to eke out a win there. Now, this is the first game I played in the Whirlwind P.9. I unlocked this premium a really long time ago, and I haven't played it in a really long time, so I was wondering how well it would do. Typically, I wouldn't be going after bombers since I have a very limited amount of ammo, but right now I was more interested in trying to unlock the NF.Mk.II as quickly as possible, so I'm just going to take that kill. I did have to dump a reasonable amount of ammo, so I only have a little bit over half of it left. It looks like luckily I'm not facing anything too strong on the enemy team. At least not a Yak 3 or a Key 44 with an energy advantage right now, so I'm free to pretty much choose any target to go for. This PE8 is close, so I might as well take a shot at him. This plane's roll feels a lot more responsive, so it does feel a lot nicer to try and get a deflection shot off, but that doesn't really compensate for my poor lead here. I think I overestimated how quickly he was going and overled there. But I do manage to crit him, and now I'm down to a third of my ammo. There's a BF-109 in front of me, and I think he's the priority target since he's the highest. And so I'm going to try and go after him. It looks like he's diving down a little bit for the B-26 though, so he's less of a priority now. Instead, I'm going to go see if I can deal with this Key 61, who does not seem to notice that I'm here at all, so I'm going to get a pretty easy kill right here. And I have very limited ammo left now. I'm trying to decide who to go after now. I don't have that much ammo left, so I don't want to get tangled up in an engagement that's going to last a long time. I'm thinking that this BF-109 might be a good target since he is isolated, but he's also gaining distance away from me, so I'm going to see if I can find somebody else. I was flying to intercept this Focke-Wulf 190, but I found a Yak 9 below me, so I'm going to see if I can deal with him first. It looks like this might be a pretty easy shot here that I'm going to get. Unfortunately, I have a skill issue there. But now that I'm almost completely out of ammo, I can't afford to get tangled up there, so I'm going to extend and see if I can RTB. I do manage to make it pretty comfortably back to the airfield since we had a lot of teammates, and I had a pretty substantial amount of altitude. But now that I'm back up, I know that I'm at a disadvantage if I don't get altitude as quickly as I can. And the enemy team still has quite a few players, so I need to deal with them while I still have a team. Taking stock of our team, we still have 2 XP50s and a BF-109 G6, while the enemy team has 9 players left. So this is going to be a very difficult fight. I'm going to try and help this XP50 by taking the head-on here. I managed to severe him tanking a few shots. And I didn't really spray that much in the head-on, so I still have a lot of ammo. So I should be good to go for more fights. I definitely won't be able to win an equal energy 1v1 against most of the enemy team, so I need to try and get as much of an energy advantage as possible and distract the enemies as much as I can until my teammate rearms so that we can deal with them together. I know I'm all alone up here, and I know that the spotting system is pretty terrible, so I'm going to keep doing sweeps around to look for enemies that might be next to me or above me, and I spot this I-185 that's closing in on me. He has a slight altitude advantage, and he's probably coming in with speed. And if I were to turn there horizontally, I would have bled a lot of speed, so I actually turned downwards to gain some speed. I would have tried to take the head-on if I had more space, but we were too close, so I'm going to go for the dodge here. And the I-185 is a plane that I am much more comfortable dogfighting. I know that thing doesn't turn very well, sort of like a Focke-Wulf, so I'm going to try and go for a reversal here. But if he knows what he's doing, he could very easily win this fight. I'm using flaps to try and tighten my circle and see if I can get a shot in on him. I don't, but I still managed to stay inside of his circle, so he doesn't get a shot. And now I'm at the bottom of the loop, so it's his turn to attack. I'm going to try and avoid it as best as I can, but it looks like he doesn't commit because I have a friendly coming in. He's pitched up to try and avoid both of us, so I'm going to see if I can get a shot here while I'm stalled out. I didn't think that was going to hit, but I guess it did. I'll definitely take it, and I still have 400 rounds of ammo left. So the hunt continues. We spot a Focke-Wulf who's above us, but he's playing very passively and hasn't dived on us yet, so I'm going to see how close I can get and observe which one of the two of us he goes for. If he goes for the 109, I need to be next to him so that I can help him out. But instead it actually looks like he's going for the friendly XP50 who's behind us, so I'm going to turn back and try and make this a 2v1. They do have the altitude advantage, so I do have to be careful that if he switches targets to me, then I'm going to be pretty vulnerable, but hopefully the two of us will be able to deal with him. It does look like they have a significant altitude advantage though, so it's going to be kind of rough if I try to immediately pitch up for him. That would make me way too vulnerable, so I'm going to try and fly off to the side a little bit. All other things equal, the XP50 should easily win a fight against the Focke-Wulf 190, but at the same time it would be a mistake to assume that your teammates are reliable, so I'm going to be here as insurance to make sure that the Focke-Wulf does go down. I pitched down a little bit because I thought that he might be diving down on me, but now that I have some speed and I see that he's not going for me, I put some shots into him. He seems pretty damaged, but he is still flying, so it would be prudent to finish him off. My allies are spraying him, so he should go down, but I'm going to see if I can put a few more shots into him just to make sure. And that's the severe damage. He's still flying, but hopefully that means that he'll go down eventually. The Yak-9 is back, and so is an SB-25. The bomber is killing ground targets, so he has actually become a priority. So we do need to go after him, but the Yak-9 is probably a lot more dangerous right now. So I'm going to try and take him out in the head-on. It looks like the Yak-9 isn't taking it though, he's going after the XP-50 instead, who has decided to go straight for the SB-25. This is incredibly tragic. If we had all triple-teamed the Yak-9, he would be dead, and we would have a pretty easy fight against the SB-25, but the XP-50 decides to go out on his own. Now I know that Yak-9 is out in front of me, but I'm going to try and kill this SB-25 while he's coming towards me, because if my teammates keep trying to prioritize this bomber over the actual fighter, then we're gonna have a very rough fight. And unfortunately I am too late, and I'm stuck with this Yak-9 and the P-47 on my 6. Now I know for a fact that on the deck I do not outrun a Yak-9. I don't know what a Yak-9M is, but I'm going to assume it flies like all the other Yak-9s, which means that he will eventually be able to catch up to me. Not to mention the P-47, who is also catching up to me very quickly. So I'm doing my best to try and run and get out of this situation. My only real hope here is that my teammate arrives before I get shot out. The Yak-9 is getting incredibly close and closing the distance, but my teammate is also 5 clicks out, so there is a chance that I come out of this alive. But unfortunately we lose on tickets. This could have been an interesting fight if it had gone on and I didn't die immediately after, but either way I guess I survived with 6 kills. I'm making good progress towards my Mosquito. Next match in the Whirlwind, again I'm going after bombers because I need the RP. This time we're on the Rocky Pillars map, which is a high altitude map, so that actually benefits this plane since it has good high altitude performance. I'm hearing an engine sound below me, and it turns out there's an A-21 who's climbing up for me. Now that thing has pretty bad high altitude performance, and it looks like he's already stalling himself out for me, so I'm just gonna drop down and see if I can get the kill. Very straightforward, nothing much to say there. Now it's pretty early on in the match, so there might be still other enemies up here, but it looks like the B-7A2, which is the plane I was most worried about, is going off and killing bombers, so I should be fine for now. I end up flying around and not doing all that much because the people at altitude kept running and the people below me kept running, so I wasn't really able to catch up to anybody until I found this guy. I'm coming in with an altitude advantage, so even if I didn't hit him here, I would have just extended away. And I don't get credited for the kill until way later when a P-47 crashes into him, I think. Either way, all the enemies were too far away, so the only real option I had was to go after this P-47 who was on the deck. And I won't say no to a free kill, though he isn't going down as easily as I thought he would. I'll just loop over and make sure to finish him off. I'm trying to wait to get as good of a shot as possible because I want to conserve my ammo. And that's the next kill. This Mosquito is just taken off from his airfield, so I'm going to see if I can head on him. If I don't die in the head-on, then I'll try go for a dogfight. And that's another severe. Not a very interesting match this game, especially considering this Zero decided to base camp for the entire match and not do anything at all. Like, he didn't even use the airfield to gain an advantage, to try and climb outside, or use it as a way to get people to turn around that were chasing him. No, he just stayed at the airfield the entire match and was hoping that people would dive in for him. Like, I tried to give him every conceivable advantage, an altitude advantage, an energy advantage. I even told him that I had run out of fuel, but no matter what I'd do, he just kept camping his base, hoping that we'd dive in on him. Like, I did actually run out of fuel and I ended up gliding through the canyon to stay alive. I feel like some people are just way too concerned about their KD. Like, there is no genuine benefit to playing the game like that. So I did just unlock the Mosquito NF, and this is my first match in it. I'm completely stuck, and I very conveniently find myself above these Yak 3s, and I have the energy advantage, so I get this very easy double rope-a-dope, 2 in a row. And here comes the other Yak, so up I go again. It was honestly kind of comedic to pull off the same move twice, and have it work exactly the same way. Definitely a fun first 2 kills to start this plane off in. And soon thereafter, I find myself being chased by Key 100. He's distracted by this P47 now, so I'm going to go for the head-on. I thought the Key 400 was pulling in for the P47, but last second he pulls in for me and manages to ram my plane. I do severe him, but I lose a propeller and I'm now in a flat spin. Luckily, it looks like most of the rest of my plane is completely intact. All I've lost is 1 propeller and an engine. So to recover, I lower throttle to 0 so that I don't produce any asymmetric thrust that would keep making my plane spin. And I lower my flaps to try and get airflow back on my wings and stabilize the plane. It looks like the yawing has stopped. I just need to make sure that my plane stops pitching up and down like this. And I've recovered. I should be safe to increase throttle now that my plane is installed out. And very conveniently, I am also right next to my airfield. I do manage to land and rearm, but I don't get to do anything else this match, but I thought it was pretty cool that I managed to survive that encounter. I'm a few more games in now. I've unlocked the belts and a third of the flight performance mods, and I found myself in a full down tier. And because there's absolutely nobody contesting me at high altitude, I get to fully commit to harassing the enemy team with no consequences. Especially if they're not paying attention. This match should be pretty easy, but I don't want to get careless just because I'm in a full down tier. I'm facing the Americans, which could catch me in a dive. Especially something like a P-39N would be very dangerous. And at the same time, I am facing the Americans, like that P-63 that just rammed into that bomber, so as long as I don't make any stupid mistakes, I should be fine. This P-38 decides to show up out of absolutely nowhere, and he's coming in with a lot of speed. He's actually approaching me in this stall climb, so it's quite risky to dive down immediately on top of him like this. But luckily, it looks like he's just stalled out, so I'm able to gun him down. I did get kind of lucky there. If he had come in with more speed and continued the stall up, then he might have been able to hit the head-on there, and I might have died. Now there's a P-40 that's coming in, and it looks like he'll take the head-on, so I'm going to try shooting my shot. I tried to lead under him because it looks like he's basically stalling out, but I managed to miss all of the rounds. And now I'm going pretty fast trying to chase him down. It's making my roll compress a lot, so I'm going to pull off before I rip my wings. I did come in with a pretty massive energy advantage, so I should be able to extend and outrun him here. But the rate at which I'm leaving him is actually not that fast, partially due to the fact that I am climbing and trying to stall him out. I'm going to try and pull the rope-a-dope on him, see if I can get him to stall, and dive back down on him. Wow, he is not stalling out, and he's actually getting pretty close. But now that he stopped firing, I can dive back down on him. I was trying to do a hammerhead dive with the rudder to try and quicken my dive, but it doesn't seem to be working the way I thought it would. It just seems to make the plane a lot floppier. And he tanks a lot more rounds than I thought he would, but he does go down. Thankfully, a lot of those encounters are happening off to the side with nobody to distract us, so I was pretty comfortable engaging in those fights, but now I'm jumping straight into the furball because it looks like there's not that many enemies left. And if you find a good approach angle, then you can really come in and hit a lot of targets at once, while not putting yourself in too much danger. I will say that when you do have the advantage in interceptors and heavy fighters like this plane, the gameplay loop can get pretty monotonic. It is just boom and zoom over and over again. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes it is more interesting if you can get dogfights. Generally speaking though, these kinds of interceptor style fighters do play all the same. It's just a matter of how well they climb, how well they turn, and how well they speed, relative to their competition that really make them different at all. So far in my time playing this plane, I haven't died a single time yet, so I'm feeling pretty confident until now when I run into this US and UK versus Japan match. It's also a full up tier. The Mk XVIII is a 4-7 bomber, so my goal right now is to try and maintain altitude and stay alive as much as I can. I'm not too worried about these Mk XVIIs right now. It looks like they're coming after me, but I'm much more worried about this B7 who will absolutely dog me in a dogfight. My priority is to try and take him out before anything else happens. I can't spend my entire match running away from turn fighters, especially if they have the altitude advantage, so I'm going to push the head-on here and try and win. The Mk XVIIs are spraying from behind, but I do manage to get the severe on the B7, so that's my main goal accomplished. Mk XVII also incoming, so I'm going to see if I can push a head-on here as well. I lead to the left a little too much, so it makes it a little difficult to get the shot in when he turns back in. But it looks like I'm clear for now. This Mk XVII does end up chasing me for a very long time though, but there's not much I can do here but continue extending. Very conveniently though, there's a B25 on my flight path, so I'm going to use him as bait, and so when he pulls off, I'm going to re-engage for an attack. Of the two, the Mk XVII is probably a more dangerous target, since he did just chase me for a while, but the Zero seems to be pretty oblivious, so I'm going to see if I can hit him first since he's closer. He's also going very slow. I'm hoping that he hasn't noticed me yet, because he's not reacting. Looks like he's seen me, but he's pulling sideways instead of downwards, which is making it very easy for me to pull in for a shot. And the B25 is going down, so I need to kill this Mk XVII before he starts flying defensively. I don't think he's noticed I'm here yet though, so I might be able to get a few shots into him before he's able to react. Nice. I feel like I'm making good progress here. That is until I realize that the enemy bomber squad has taken out my entire team. So these two guys are actually good. They know what they're doing, and after I rearm and climb a bit, I'm trying to engage them, but they're really good at defensive flying, and my Hispanos decide that they don't want to work right now. These Japanese bombers seem to turn much better than me, so I'm going to try and leverage speed to continue boom and zoom attacking them, since this guy did just commit a full turn and I came in with an energy advantage. The other guy is closing in pretty fast though, and I'm not entirely sure if I outspeed these two, considering I haven't unlocked all of my engine mods yet. I'd assumed that these bombers were going to be pretty slow, so I would be able to reliably boom and zoom them, but it looks like they're actually quite fast. I start second-guessing myself about their speeds, and if I know that I don't outspeed or outclimb or outturn them, then I need to turn back and engage them while I have the distance. Plus, it is pretty boring if you just keep running away forever, so I might as well make another attempt. I'm coming in for another dive. I checked the flight models afterwards, and it does seem like they do outturn, but don't outspeed me. I was just climbing a little too aggressively here. I'm hoping I can finish him off here, and predictably he does the same upwards dodge again, and I managed to pump quite a few shots into him, but it doesn't really do anything, so at this point I just think screw it, I'm just gonna go all in. I checked the hit analysis to see if I had actually hit him at all, because it definitely looked like I had pumped quite a few 20mm into him. The hit analysis does have problems, like 90% of your shots don't get recorded. You can see here that none of the shots that I got on the Zero are here, but it does show that I managed to get at least one side-on shot to him, likely more since it's not registering all of them. And even before the shot, his entire tail section was completely black, and even with this next shot, it goes even more black. So I'm not entirely sure what's up with the damage model for that thing, but either way, it was a pretty disappointing outcome. I checked his stats later, and it turns out he has 600 matches in that thing with almost a 10-to-1 KD. Which is honestly insane. I guess that I was just fated to die that day. Either way, I hope I never have to face that guy again. This is the last match I'm showing. I'm fully spaded now. This was kind of what I was expecting when I shot that Mk XVII. If anything, I was expecting it to be less tanky than American bombers. Anyways, we're fighting America and Russia in a full up tier. You can tell because there's a Wyvern ground pounding. Very excellent use of his 5.7 flight model placed at 4.7 in a full down tier. Either way, I did manage to get to altitude, though I haven't secured a full advantage. There's a Yak 3 and P63s all over the place, so they're gonna need dealing with. Let's start with a head-on with this P63. That's a plane I'm not comfortable dogfighting, so I'm just gonna extend away from him if I do manage to miss all my shots. He is waiting a really long time to pull in for the head-on. Or he was just AFK. There are 3 very conveniently placed enemies in front of me going after bombers, so I'll just go after them one by one. The Act 3 actually dies to the tail gunner of the SB-25, so I just need to deal with this P-63 and then this XP-50. Unfortunately, me trying to save my shots for a perfect angle gets that bomber killed, but hopefully I can finish him off here. And that's my area of high altitude cleared for now. There's a P-51 directly below me, so I'm going to see if I can dive down on him. It's kind of hard to see what he's doing because of the poor lighting, but he's not pitching up for a head-on, so I should be pretty clear to drop down and get him. He's still flying fine, so I'm going to take a shot. And that has to be one of the fastest aces I've gotten. That doesn't mean our work's over yet, though. There's a lot of enemies still down low, and I have quite a bit of ammo left, so I'm going to dive down and see who I can pick up. There are two P-51s at altitude in the distance, but they are quite far away, and it looks like my teammates are dealing with them, so I'm going to let them deal with that. I've dived down beneath the clouds, and it's kind of hard to see what this XP-50 is doing, but he is going very slow right now, so I should be able to get him. And I have just about enough ammo to see if I can get one or two more people. And there's this Su-6 that's directly below me. Now this lighting is really hard to see anything in. I've lowered throttle completely, but I'm still going too fast, so I compress and I miss a lot of those shots. I still put a few into him, but it looks like he hasn't gone down yet, and I'm down to 7.7s. Hopefully I can spray him down and make him crash. And now it's really hard to see how close we are to the ground. I need to be very careful that I don't accidentally just pitch into the ground and die. The 7.7s are practically useless and not doing anything, but hopefully if I pump enough of them into his airframe, then he'll have to fall out of the sky eventually. It looks like I severed something on him, and just in time, somebody else comes in and shears his tail off. A really quick 7-kill game with minimal effort. I don't get to do anything else this match, but that was still a really good game. I wouldn't say this plane is overpowered, but compared to the other Interceptors, it is one of the strongest. It's just that when you do play an Interceptor, they're generally not that great at dogfighting everything, so you are still very much reliant on your air spawn to get good work done. Anyways, that's all for now, so enjoy the outro.